Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Payoff Pitch. This is all about the San Diego Padres and their prospects, not their baseball prospects, but their actual prospects for the 2020 season, both for fantasy baseball and, of course, their regular win-loss record. We both like this team, me and my co-host Eric Zimmerman, a.k.a. the Baseball Llama. He and I put together the Fantasy Baseball Almanac and Draft Guide. If you are interested, check the show notes below. There's a link to Amazon. It's available on Amazon. Why are we better? We're less expensive. We're more accurate. We're more up-to-date. For instance, we have bets on the Dodgers. That's in the publication. And then we also give you a promo code for in-season advice that's aligned directly to me and Eric. But Eric, how you doing today, my friend?
I am doing quite well, and yeah, man, 30 friggin' years, Jesus.
It's been more than that. I guess it's been 32, I guess, technically. So we're getting to the point where I'm going to be saying almost 35.
I know on that note, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of kids. I help coach my son's little league team, and now I was out there just messing around, waiting for the kids to get ready. So I'm just kind of bouncing the ball on the bat, kind of balancing that little thing there. And one kid's looking, he goes, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been playing baseball for 30 years." And I stopped and I go, "Holy crap, I've been playing baseball for over 30 years."
30 years, man.
I mean, it's crazy to think. It doesn't really dawn on you for these types of things until you really say it out loud and just kind of occurs. You're like, "Holy hell!"
I mean, we're only so Eric and I have known each other since we were 5, so we're both kind of in our upper 30s at this point. But, dude, let's talk about the Padres, man. So I like this roster quite a bit. Young roster, dynamic roster. The pitchers are starting to come on as I continue to fill space while I pull my Padres opening up. Tatis, he came alive. I mean, I think everybody knew he was going to be a stud, but he came along a lot quicker. Tatis 16 in our rankings. Chris Paddock, who I actually ended up with 2 rookie cards. I've been starting to invest in more rookie cards of future stars. I got Chris Paddock. You got Machado, of course, right? The third player I mentioned on this team, third player in our rankings, Kirby Yates, who I like quite a bit. You got a lot of really good stuff. Lucchesi I like a lot, or Lucchesi, but I call him Lucchesi. I don't know which one's right, to be honest with you, but that's the way I do it. Good starting pitching. I don't know that they're ready to make a World Series run yet, but I think they're ready to make a playoff run, but we'll get to that towards the end of the video with the previews. Let's just talk about batters, man. Why don't you start with Tatis? I think you had him on your roster last year, right?
I have him, and he's currently set as a keeper.
Yeah, I know. Your roster's so deep, and we keep so few, so I'm curious if he's going to stay a keeper, but it's a good one to have.
At this point, he is. The only way he wouldn't is if I somehow decide to flip him for a top shelf pitcher. But yeah, no, he's a good young player, and I think 3.6 WAR in slightly over half a season, essentially before he got hurt last year. Yeah, just an outstanding year. 317, 22 homers.
Yeah.
The guy is a phenom. He's going to continue, and he'll probably be among the top shortstops in the league by the end of the season, if not already.
Sure.
Yeah, get him early.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's swing it to Machado there, which I think is interesting. So me, I hesitate to mention this, but I'm an Orioles fan. An Orioles fan. Don't tell anybody out there. So Machado, interesting. So obviously he gets traded to the Dodgers and he moves over to San Diego. Had a down year last year. But that's, to me, I'm not as surprised by that, because when you go from American League to National League, it's just like our whole lives, there's always been a harder transition that way. Whereas if you have a National Leaguer going back to the American League, they tend to have an increase. I don't know what it is about that, but it's been kind of a tried and true thing for the most part. But why don't you talk about Machado? I think you feel like he's going to be a little bit of a bounce back candidate this year, but why don't you get going on that?
Yeah, I think I definitely think I think there was just a lot going on. You kind of come over for that kind of money, and then things kind of start to go south for a team.
Yeah.
I just don't think he was quite prepared fully last year. I think he'll be a lot better this year, which I think people are going to be down on him a touch, and I think that's going to play into your favor if you're out there drafting him. Yeah, I mean, even in a down year, let's call it, he still had a 3.1 WAR, still hit 32 homers. Yeah, his homers are going to take a little bit of a hit in that ballpark. That's the thing. But he should not hit 256 again. He's going to hit well better than that. Yeah, I still think it's going to be a good year for him, and I think he's going to help form a really formidable top of the lineup there with guys like Tatis and Tommy Pham. Even Jurickson Profar should probably be pretty good in that lineup. So, yeah, I think Machado's in line for a good year. So don't get down on him too far. Don't let him slip, away in that draft just because you're like, he wasn't great last year.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about pitching. Chris Paddock, can you talk about him? I know you've been pretty high on him, dating back to last year. Why don't you talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, this guy I think is going to be really emerging among the top guys. I think he would have looked a lot better last year had they not limited his innings so
Hmm.
much.
Yeah, right.
They kind of limited him to 5 6 innings at most every outing, and it hurt his value a little bit. They kind of shut him down at the end, which killed me in the playoffs. Not going to get too much into that, but yeah, he should. The gloves should come off. The kid gloves are off this year, and I think he's going to really establish himself as not just an ace of this team, but an ace in the league in general.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dude,
he's
yeah,
one of the
I'm
guys.
looking 0.981 whip, 9.8 strikeouts per nine, 9 wins, 7 losses. But like you said, if you went deeper into those games, that win loss could shift more towards 15 and I don't know. Let's call it 15-5 or something like that this year. I mean, yeah, or better, depending on how much he pitches and all that. So very very good. What else do you like on this pitching staff here?
I think it's a solid one. I think you have some guys that, on paper, you look at Zach Davies, Garrett Richards, and Dinelson Lamet, and they're not going to jump out at you. And I don't think you're talking, the vaunted Braves rotations of the 1990s here.
Right.
But no one is.
Yeah. Right.
But no, they're gonna keep in there. Garrett Richards is really talented. He's a really good pitcher. He's just had some injury issues. He missed most of the last 2 years, really. But he's a guy who could really surprise a few people. He's not going to come out there and post an ERA under 3, but
Yeah.
3.5 range and some decent strikeout numbers. Yeah, he could be a nice late round steal for a lot of people as he's going to go overlooked. Probably completely in most drafts.
Yeah, and I feel like psychologically here, and I do a couple things. So if I'm late in the draft, if I'm trying to find a pitcher, that's the time where I'm going to be like, okay, which pitchers can have strikeouts? They're in a new location, maybe with a better offense or something like that. These Padres, I see this as kind of a young team getting better and better. I think the lineup's going to score more runs than they have. Not to say that they didn't score enough or anything like that, but I think they're improving. I think the pitcher wins are improving, and I feel like these are guys. You just mentioned all three of these guys. If I'm going over here, you got Lamet, Richards. These are guys, dude, that you could end up, in the later rounds and get you like 13 to 15 wins and a lot of strikeouts, and they have lineup support. I like those kinds of people. So I kind of like the Padres. Is the rest of the world's kind of sleeping on them a little bit. I think they're going to take a step forward, and that also extends, by the way, to Kirby Yates, who as a closer. Last year he had 41 saves last year. Zero wins, 5 losses, so he has some blowed saves in there. I mean, yeah, that's fine. 15.0 strikeouts per nine. Again, with this lineup support, I think he's going to have more save opportunities this year. And I think he's going to reproduce those numbers. We think well of him. I'm a little bit higher on him than you are, but in terms of closers, he's almost at the top tier for us in closers. If he's not at the top, he's pretty darn close to it. So why don't you talk about Kirby Yates and what you think about him?
Yeah, I think the guy. Yeah, no, I am. He's short of Hader. He's pretty much the top reliever on my board.
Yep.
And I'd probably, even though I kind of rate Hader more, I think I'd probably take Yates a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, I agree with that because the Brewers, I think, are going to take a step back, and I think the Padres are going to take a step forward. So we're talking about fantasy opportunity, maybe not pitching quality. I mean, you put Hader on the Dodgers, of course that would never happen, but they're going to get a lot of wins. You put Hader on the Padres and Yates on the Brewers, we probably flip that, right? Just based on opportunity. But yeah, I like Yates quite a bit for sure.
And another thing to note on Yates that kind of goes unheralded is the rest of this Padres bullpen is outstanding. They added Pomeranz, they added Pagan. These are two guys who are now your 7th and 8th inning guys, along with whatever else they have, which means getting the ball to Yates is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot less chance of that getting blown, which means he's going to have more opportunities. Yeah, no. He's definitely, for me, probably the first closer off the board at this point. And it's not really that close, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I like him on this team. Yeah, no, he's he's kind of come out of nowhere, and he's going to make himself a whole lot of money.
Yeah, talking about closers. So I actually have Hader, right, and he's a very highly rated closer, obviously. But I have questions, as we talked about in our Brewers preview. I have questions about their starting unit. I just think San Diego's better this year, and I'm excited to see this team play. But actually, this is a really nice segue, Eric. So high and low, floor and ceiling. What do you think this team, best case and worst case scenario in terms of finish for the baseball team? Now, we're not talking fantasy now. We're talking about the actual Padres finish here.
Yeah, and a lot of it depends. It sounds to me, from what I'm hearing, they're still talking about certain trades. They're still trying to find. Apparently, I heard there was some talk going on about a 3-team trade between Boston and the Reds, where they're going to flip Will Smith over to the Red Sox and try to find a way to get Nick Senzel. That's all a lot of talk, but they're still targeting Lindor. So a lot of things can change in this if Preller gets his way, because he's not one to sit on his hands in the middle of spring training. He acquired Kimbrel like the day before the season started a few years back. It definitely could change. I think right now their ceiling is, if everything clicks, I think they could definitely pull off a wild card spot. Again, they're going to be challenging the Dodgers sooner than later. Coming years, once Mackenzie Gore gets up there, I don't know whether he'll debut this year. If he does, get your hands on him and fast. But if he gets up there and he can kind of do what he does, that can make a big difference for this team. So I do think a wild card berth is in the cards for them. It is an option. It's definitely something they pull off if a few things click.
Yeah.
I'd say worst case scenario. I mean, they're not going to have a worse year than last year. They're going to move up in the rankings. So I'd say probably the worst we're looking at for that team is third place in that division.
Yeah.
And that's an absolute worst case scenario. But I think they're going to battle for that second place in that division.
Yeah.
With the Diamondbacks and be in the hunt for a wild card.
I feel like I agree with you. I actually think that the Padres are going to finish second if I had to pick today. The Rockies and the Diamondbacks they're no slouches. I mean, they have question marks, but they could get things going. I just feel like the Padres are building something. Like you said, they're going to be challenging the Dodgers. I think that's kind of the goal, right? They want to be at the top, and the Dodgers are, with that lineup. We actually just recorded another video of the Dodgers. I mean, that's the goal at this point, is to be at that elite wide World Series open, the championship window, open that up. And I don't know that the Padres are there at the World Series level yet, but this is the next step in that development. So there you go. Hey, everybody, once again, thanks for watching. That concludes the episode. Thanks for watching the Payoff Pitch. Once again, the Fantasy Baseball Almanac and Draft Guide. Check it out. We have a link directly in the show notes below. Well-reviewed, less expensive than the competitors, more up-to-date. We continuously update the book throughout the offseason, and we got that promo code to give you in-season direct pipeline advice from both me and Eric. You get a direct line into us. We don't have staff answering it. It comes right in. That's the beauty of a small business, right? You get the owners. So there you go. Everybody out there, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share, and be good. Thanks.